Welcome back, focused learners. So today we're diving into an explainer on a family tree that I'm betting a lot of us have a deeply personal connection to. I mean, there are literally over 500 million domestic cats just snoozing on couches right now, demanding our attention. But the full wild feline family tree, it is vast, it's ancient, and it's absolutely fascinating. We're going to trace the cat lineage all the way from prehistoric giants right down to that little living room leopard of yours.
Okay, let's get a quick roadmap of where we're headed. We'll start with the ancient and extinct felines, then check out the Panthera branch, move over to the feline branch, look at the fascinating path to domestication, and finally wrap up with purebreds and moggies. All right, part 1, ancient and extinct felines, the roots of the family tree. Now, what's really interesting here is just how far back this goes. We're talking 30 million years ago to the emergence of Proiulurus. Honestly, this granddaddy of all modern kitties didn't even look much like a house cat. It was actually more like a mongoose, spending its days hunting birds up in the trees of Eurasia. But jump forward a bit and things get massive. Take the Smilodon populator. This was a half-ton saber-toothed tiger with 11-inch canine teeth that it used to literally take down giant ground sloths. No way you'd want that on your couch. And right here in North America, we had the American cheetah. It actually died out shortly after humans arrived, but its incredible speed still solves a modern mystery. You see, the pronghorn is the second fastest mammal in the world today, and that's precisely because it evolved to outrun this now extinct American cheetah. Moving right along to section 2, the Panthera branch, home of the big cats. So on this branch, we've got your highly social lions living out in the savannas, and your solitary tigers ambushing prey in the forests of Asia. But here's a wild fact. Felines are so genetically similar to one another that they can hybridize surprisingly easily. If you cross a male lion with a female tiger, you get a liger. And ligers are absolutely massive. We're talking as big as those ancient half-ton smilodons we just mentioned. This happens because the genes that normally limit growth in lions, they're passed down by the females. So since the liger's mother is a tiger, it just doesn't get those limiting genes. On the flip side, if you cross a female lion with a male tiger, you get a tigon, which ends up being way smaller because it does inherit those growth-limiting genes from its lioness mother.
Now, when it comes to the rest of the Panthera branch, jaguars and leopards are notoriously tricky to tell apart. Visually, the crucial point is all in their spots, which are called rosettes. Jaguars, hanging out in the Americas, have these large rosettes with a really distinct central spot. Leopards, on the other hand, live in Africa and Asia and have smaller rosettes with no central spot at all. But what they both have in common is that they regularly produce individuals with extra melanin, which means, yeah, a black panther isn't its own species. It's actually just a jaguar or a leopard with a black coat. Kind of blows your mind, right? Before we jump to the next branch, we've got to talk about a couple of incredible evolutionary offshoots. The snow leopard, for instance, survives high up in the freezing Himalayas by using its super thick, fat-filled tail as a built-in scarf to stay warm. And surprisingly enough, they're actually closer relatives to tigers than standard leopards. Then you've got the clouded leopard. This was an early split from the Panthera branch, and it uses its slightly smaller frame to be, hands down, the best tree climber of all the big cats.
All right, section 3, the Felidae branch, diversity and superpowers. I'm telling you, the evolutionary superpowers in this branch are just insane. Take the caracal. It has these long hairs on its ear tufts that literally act as acoustic amplifiers, so it can zero in on tiny birds. Or the margay, down in Central and South America. It actually mimics the call of a tamarin monkey to lure its prey closer. Talk about a trickster. Then there's the puma, the undisputed long jump champion of the animal kingdom, clearing almost 40 feet in a single leap. And, of course, the cheetah. It's got a spine that acts like a tightly coiled spring and a tail working like a high-speed rudder to make it the fastest land animal on Earth. The diversity here is just staggering, and it's entirely driven by their specific environments. The African serval, it rocks the longest legs relative to its body size, so it can pounce straight through tall savanna grass. Meanwhile, about 20% of South American oncillas are totally black, giving them the perfect camouflage for night hunting. Down in the Amazon, ocelots eat so many rodents that the uneaten, buried seeds left over from their prey actually help replant the forest. Over in Eurasia, the lynx uses sheer strength to take down over 60 roe deer every single year. And we can't forget the jaguarundi. It's so adapted to rivers, it's literally nicknamed the otter cat because it'll just dive right into the water to catch fish. Moving on to section 4, the the path to domestication, bridging the gap. So how do we go from these highly specialized wildcats, like the super grumpy-looking, cold-adapted Paulus's cat or the big-eared sand cat, to the buddies living in our homes? Well, this brilliantly illustrates a 10,000-year journey that started with African and European wildcats. Step 1. Humans invent agriculture. Step 2. All that newly stored grain attracts a whole lot of rodents. Step 3. The wildcats just follow the food source right into our human settlements. And over millennia, as these cats habituated to us, they actually evolved. They became less skittish, and they even adapted to better digest plant matter so they could feed off our scraps. In a very real way, they domesticated themselves just by moving in with us. One of the absolute earliest deep connections humans had with these new companions was in ancient Egypt, where felines were literally worshipped. That ancient lineage gave us breeds that are still around today, like the Egyptian Mau. But what's really wild is that modern breeders are actually mixing wild genes back in. If you cross a domestic Egyptian Mau with an Asian leopard cat, you get a Bengal, which is the only pet cat rocking those wild rosette markings we talked about earlier. There are also savanna cats, which are a hybrid between our domestic cats and that wild long-legged serval.
Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, purebreds and moggies, the living room leopards.
Let's see how this all builds into the cats we share our homes with today. Human selective breeding has highlighted some truly incredible genetic quirks. You've got the Maine Coon, the longest breed out there at over 4 feet, often sporting extra toes. Then there's the Scottish Fold, where those adorable folded ears are actually the result of a cartilage defect. Siamese cats are fascinating because they're essentially temperature-controlled albinos. The warmer parts of their bodies stay white, while the cooler extremities grow in dark and pigmented. We've also got the chunky British Shorthair, famously the inspiration for the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. And the Sphinx? No, it's not shaved. It's completely hairless thanks to a natural genetic mutation. Oh, and breeds like the Ragdoll, which have been bred to be so selectively affectionate that they literally go limp the second you pick them up. But here's the reality check. The vast majority of our pets are absolutely not purebreds. They're mixed breeds, domestic Shorthairs, or if you're British, moggies. And when you let feline genetics mix naturally, one pattern rules them all. About 80% of domestic cats are tabbies. That means those wild, stripy camouflage genes they inherited from their ancient ancestors, they are overwhelmingly dominant.
Now, for the other 20%, we get some seriously fascinating variations. Which actually leads me to a question for you to ponder. Have you ever noticed that you pretty much never see a male calico cat? Seriously, why are all calico cats female?
Well, the answer lies deep in their DNA. The genes that control those distinct orange and black patches of a calico and the blended colors of a tortoiseshell are directly linked to the X chromosome. Because females have 2 X chromosomes, they can easily display this complex pattern, whereas males generally cannot. We also see solid-colored cats, like black cats, who unfairly got a bad rap from Middle Ages superstitions, and bicolored cats, like the famous tuxedo cat. You know, the one that inspired the magical Mistamopheles in the musical Cats? So, think about it. From the mongoose-like Proilurus hunting in the trees 30 million years ago, through the brutal era of the giant saber-toothed Smilodon, to the highly specialized wildcats roaming the globe today, and finally down to that purring tabby cat curled up right there in your lap, the feline family tree is a literal masterclass in evolutionary adaptation. Which leaves us with one final compelling thought. As we humans continue to shape the world and selectively breed our companions, what will the next branch of the feline family tree look like? Thanks for joining me on this Explainer Focus, learners. Keep exploring, and I'll catch you next time.